Hello, welcome back to Fire Islands Gaming. My name is Ben, and today we're going to continue on with Suzerain. So last time out, we had a couple of our ministers resign. The Queen of Rumberg tried to extort us into peace, but we quickly dismissed her and began preparations for war. So yeah, let's go and pick it up here right after that. Looks like we have a whole bunch of reports, so let's check those out first. Alright, from Volksland. Volksland urges calm. Democratic Republic of Volksland hereby reiterates commitment to peace in Eastern Marcopa. The tensions between Rumberg and Swordland have to be prevented to escalate further. We are strongly urging calm in the region. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Alright, from Rumberg. Proclamation of War. In order to address the decades-long atrocities committed by Swordland once and for all, effective immediately, Her Majesty Queen Beatrice Livingston declares that a state of war exists between the Kingdom of Rumberg and Swordland. Cool, so they officially declared war on us there. From Arvery, Agnolia's late arrival. Agnolia's commander reported that his armies might not arrive in time for the battle, placing the blame on the poor infrastructure in the Einan region, slowing down the movement of their units. That's exactly the thing I was most afraid of, because I did not start reading the guide in time to get the highway built instead of the railroad. But we'll roll with it. We'll see what happens here. Alright, from Deer, peaceful protests in Berja. Berja's British community has been holding rallies protesting the presence of Vasic troops in the region. Even though the protests have been peaceful so far, local police forces are staying vigilant in case the demonstrators turn violent. Cool. Alright, what else we got here? From Lesbia. Lesbia also urges calm. The Republic of Lesbia hereby reiterates commitment to peace in Eastern Marcopa. The tensions between Rumberg and Swordland have to be prevented to escalate further. We are strongly urging calm in the region. It's the exact same message. Cool. Alright. I think that is everything. So let's check out the news here. Alright. Whole Sword Post. Nationwide mobilization order. Attention all able-bodied citizens. By law, you are required to report to the nearest Sword Armed Forces Recruitment Center immediately. You'll be tested for aptitude and receive your orders. On failure to abide, severe legal action will be taken. Do your duty to our nation. I thought we get rid of mandatory conscription. Interesting. And from Geopolitica, Rumberg prepares for an invasion. Troop deployments movements near the southern Rumberg border have increased tenfold over the previous week, signaling a potential hot conflict brewing. The recent nationwide mobilization order also proves that Swordland is preparing their defenses against Rumberg. Regional neighbors and alliance of nations urge calm in the region with the exception of President Smolak. For now, peace in Eastern Marcopa is hanging by a thread that is almost about to snap. Awesome. Alright, let's hit Whole Sword. Yep, this report on a nationwide mobilization order. See, a nationwide mobilization order has been issued to reinforce the manpower pool. Newer recruits will be mostly serving as reserves, but we will prepare for the worst case scenario. Approximately 1 million men have been recruited so far, and they'll begin their accelerated training immediately. Cool, alright. Then, let's sit back to Whole Sword here for a declaration of war against Rumberg. Standing at the exact same podium overlooking the Hill of Pride where my inauguration took place. However, the mood this time was far from cheerful. I looked at the people of Swordland below. They were gazing up at me with confusion and concern. My name was announced. I stepped forward as the cameras flashed. The crowd started clapping. My brothers and sisters. The clapping and cheering faded to a deafening silence. As you have heard, yesterday, Rumberg declared war on Swordland following their dastardly attack on our sovereignty in the past months. Let's see here. Yeah, let's try to talk it up as a defensive war. That sounds like a good idea. Unfortunately, the times of peace are coming to an end due to the aggressive actions of Rumberg. As Sword citizens, we have all sworn an oath to this country, and we are prepared to defend it to our last breath. They are playing with fire. Let's teach them that the fire that burns inside the Sword's people is unlike any other. Let's see. Our people, our territories, our home is in grave danger due to the hostilities that are yet to come. Let's go with that. I want to call on the international community to condemn this deliberate attempt to disrupt the world peace. I announce that Swordland is hereby declaring war on Rumberg. When we're done with them, we'll dine in Thornburg. And let's just go with our little slogan here. Morgna Vescore Vectern Sista. Crowd started chanting my name. Soldiers and military staff stood up and saluted me at the same time. I saluted the crowd. I left the podium as the crowd roared even louder. Regardless of my bravado during my speech, I was worried about what the future would bring. I had to wait to find out. Yes, I'm definitely worried about this railroad situation. Or the highway, I mean. But, alright, wow, we've got a whole bunch of reports popping again. So let's check them out here. Alright, Suzerain War Report. Heavy fighting broke out as Rumbergian soldiers advanced on the defensive positions in Suzerain. We've lost 87 soldiers, 2 tanks, and 14 warplanes. Rumberg's attack has been thwarted, but the assaults are expected to continue. Behind the front line, a special operations team managed to sneak into enemy territory and demolish the enemy's anti-air systems. They were spotted by the enemy and airstrikes struck the position. The situation is expected to deteriorate. That sounds about right. Alright, Narbel. Rumberg artillery targets destroyed. We stopped the continuous shelling of Narbel by Rumbergian artillery. Yesterday night, our artillery brigades have targeted their locations and destroyed their heavy weaponry in a counter-artillery strike. Our division will take this opportunity and attempt to break through to create a pocket to trap the enemy tanks. Vectern Sista. Alright, Lockhaven. Our generals expressed their gratitude. Our generals sent us their deepest gratitude for our excellent administrative work on the home front. Our artillery units are continuously shelling the enemy without concern over ammunition. Thanks to the continuous supply of medical equipment, we've minimized the number of casualties. The units are able to conduct continuous assaults thanks to our efforts. Ooh, wow, a whole bunch of things from Estord. Let's start at the bottom, I think. Alright, hospitals and schools bombed in Estord. Rumberg bombing runs began yesterday night, and they have leveled most of the urban areas, attacking hospitals and schools alike. There are many dead among the civilian populace. Local commanders report civilians and wounded children are inside their target areas. We're sending more anti-air systems to Estord to defend the city, but the local defenses are heavily damaged. Alright, Battle of Estord. At 7 in the morning, Rumberg armies marched into the city of Estord. The city was empty, its citizens having been evacuated days earlier. At 9, while the Rumberg armies were savaging and looting what was left of Estord, General Lancia sounded the signal for an all-out assault. At 12:45, our first wave clashed with their southern flank. At 15:13, our pincer attacks started to take shape as eastern and western armies began to enclose the enemy. The intensive fighting happened both in the sky and on the ground throughout the night. Alright, Part 2. At 4 o'clock the following day, Rumberg troops defending the eastern front of Estord routed. Our general commanding the army at the eastern side immediately signaled the victorious news to our headquarters, and in the meantime telegraphed the news internationally and to all propaganda spies in Rumberg. With their shattered eastern front, their flank was exposed and their supply lines were cut off. As they slowly gained ground, the Rumberg general capitulated. At 14 o'clock on the same day, Swordland's flag was raised at the top of Estord once again. Nice. Alright, Phase 2 meeting. Following the Swordish army's successful invasion of Zarburg, our commanding officers held a meeting in the city itself to review the battle plans for the second phase of our military operation. The meeting went well, and the generals walked out of the room with an optimistic projection for the assault on Thornburg. Okay, apparently we've already successfully invaded Zarburg. That's cool. I don't even know where it is. That's alright, let's keep going here. From Laren, Rumberg War Crimes. In the places Rumberg soldiers managed to break our defense, there have been atrocious reports of war crimes. These reports outline death marches on the dislocated civilian populations and mistreatment of prisoners. According to a field commander, they do not fight like a regular army. Reports of new chemical weapons have been sent over to Wholesword. The war crimes will be reported to the international community for the whole world to see. Okay. That's not exactly a good thing. Alright, let's head to Vezord. Rumberg ships sunk and captured Markian Sea. Rumberg's navy has been spotted patrolling the Markian Sea. Even Swordland's improved fleet has not been able to keep their ships entirely at bay. Reports of ships sunk in the naval battles are mounting substantially. Fortunately, the losses are mainly on Rumberg's side. With the Markian Sea primarily under Swordish control, we have managed to sink or capture hundreds of trade ships carrying supplies for Rumberg, some even disguised as civilian boats. Awesome. Alright, that looks like all the reports, I think. Yeah, it looks like it. Alright, country overview. Military. Oh, at war. Yeah, that's not generally a good thing. Alright, check out the news reports here. Wholesale Post, Swordland goes to war. So it's come to this. Swordland is indeed going to war with Rumberg, following what President Rain referred to as a dastardly attack on our sovereignty by our northern neighbors. In a speech at the capital, he expressed his confidence in our military's capabilities and promised citizens that Swordland would emerge victorious. We pray for our country's good sons as they march off to the front lines. And Geopolitica, Rain confirms Swordland-Rumberg war. Speaking from the Hill of Pride in Wholesword, Sword's President Anton Rain gave a speech announcing that his country would indeed be going to war with Rumberg. Tensions between the two countries have been escalating since Rain took office, coming to a head in the past months following perceived provocations from Rumberg's side. Geopolitico continued to provide updates on the developing conflicts. Nice, okay. So that looks like everything. Sounds like the war is going quite well so far. We've already successfully fended off the invasion and apparently captured, whatever it was, Zarburg. Thornburg. Zarburg, yes. One that's not the capital, so this one. Yeah, I guess let's continue on to the next turn and see how the war finishes out. Sometime later. Sweet. Alright, so it looks like the only thing we have going right now is Estord. Ooh, and fantastic. Capitulation of Rumberg. My cabin rocked gently as the maroon train sped through the leafy outskirts of Estord. An assistant knocked sharply, then slid the door open. He approached my desk and handed me the day's newspaper and a letter. Now let's start the news. I took a look at the newspaper. The first thing I saw was the headline, Conquer Rain, written in giant letters. I continued reading. PM Martin Van Horden proclaimed that peace had finally arrived in Eastern Mercopa. No matter what, Valen came to Swordland's aid in its time of need. This is definitely the start of a new and lasting alliance in the region, Victor Smolak proclaimed. After the triumphant victory of our soldiers, President Rain welcomed them back in Wholesword. The entire country has broken out in celebration of Rumberg's defeat. I remembered the jubilant welcome ceremony and smiled. I flipped the page. Defense Minister Yosef Lansea was the man of the hour as his superior strategies broke the morale of the enemy. Our troops were victorious in their assault and tipped the scales in our favor. Soon after, they were on their way to Rumberg's capital. Credit as well goes to Foreign Minister David Vichy, whose insight into Swordland's allies proved invaluable. He certainly deserves a long and peaceful retirement. Experts are still analyzing the particulars of the victory, but there's one fact they agree on. The siege of Thornburg was a turning point that drove Rumberg into where they are now, a full and unconditional surrender. President Rain is currently on his way to sign the capitulation agreement. A historic moment will be taking place in the exact same location as the signing of the 15-day war's ceasefire, the 4th of October. I put down the paper and took a sip from my coffee. I opened the letter. I recognized Frank's handwriting immediately. Dear Father, I hope this letter finds you well. Is that how you old folks say it? I know I could have called, but a letter felt more appropriate for the occasion. I wanted to congratulate you on our victory against Rumberg. We showed them who they were messing with. Everyone's talking about the war here at school. I know I complain about how hard it is being your son sometimes, but I have to say it feels pretty nice right now. That said, I can't help but think about all the guys who died. That could have been me over there. Considering how badly I flunked my exams, it probably should have been me. But there's nothing I can do to change any of that now. All I can ask is this. When you see the Queen, give her a big fat middle finger from me. Best regards, Frank Rain. Smiling, I shoved the papers to the side of my desk. I heard another knock on my door. The assistant let me know that we had almost arrived at our destination. I opened the window to look outside. The air was cool, and I enjoyed the smell of nature for a brief moment. With a final whistle, the maroon train came to a stop in the middle of the 4th of October. I stepped out of my cabin and exited the wagon to meet my esteemed guests. Martin Van Horten arrived at the clearing near the tracks. Mr. President, the time has finally come. Victor Smolak walked over with his arms open. He was smiling. Anton, my friend, it's certainly been a long ride, but finally we are here. I can't wait to see the look of defeat on her face. We shook hands and waited in silence for the Queen's arrival. A few minutes later, another train pulled in behind ours and stopped with the whistle. Queen Beatrice stepped out of the frontmost wagon. She looked much older and more tired than the last time I had seen her. Clearly, the war had taken its toll on her. I straightened my jacket as she approached. Miss Suzerain? She put her hand forward. I gestured towards the wagon. We entered the train cabin where the signing would take place. It was dominated by a polished mahogany writing desk. I took my seat on one side of it. The Queen took hers on the other. You couldn't have chosen a better location, could you? You're here to sign your capitulation. You'll meet me wherever I please. Ha! Such vulgarity. Barbarians, all of you. As if your victory was not enough, you felt compelled to drag me out to the middle of a forest to cement it. Not just any forest, of course. This is the same place where the ceasefire was signed for the 15-day war. You really are trying to humiliate me, aren't you? Yeah, so what? What can you do without your country, Queen of Rumberg? She struggled to come up with a response, then gave up and sighed heavily. Ah, give me the bloody papers. I can't stand breathing the same air as you. Just be a total dick about it. Ms. Livingston, you're forgetting the protocol. I expect you to say please first. Oh, come on. Such childish behavior. I said, say please. She paused for a second and glared at me in pure fury. Please, hand me the papers, Mr. Rain. I handed her the papers. She laid out the treaty and began to read the document. Part 1, Section 2, Reparations. Soldan's government and its allies affirm and Rumberg accepts the responsibility for causing the losses and damages. Wait, what's this? Section 5, Soldan's front. Rumberg will immediately surrender the city of Saarburg and its surrounding territories to the Republic of Soldan. Section 7, Dome. Recognizing the moral obligations to redress the wrong done by Rumberg in 1921, both to the rights of Agnolia and to the wishes of the population of Dome. The territory shall be restored to the Republic of Agnolia. You want the two major cities in the south? This will cripple us for years to come. It is only natural that you return what you have taken from us. The people of Dome will finally be free from tyrannical rule. Well, it is not done yet, my queen. Have a look at Section 9. I believe it is titled The Vesic People. Rumberg will immediately surrender the territories surrounding Date Fort to Valen in accordance with the wishes of the Vesic people living in these territories. What is this madness? What about all the Rumbergian and Bludish people living there? Well, that is none of your business. I'm sure that my friend and I can come to another agreement similar to the last one. You not only intend to commit a genocide of the Bludish people, but Rumbergians as well. I won't stand for this. That depends on how they behave, don't you agree? Miss Livingston, it seems you do not fully comprehend the situation. We are not asking. I will remember this. Rumberg will remember this. The witnesses were called for the signing of the agreement titled The Treaty of Estord. Beatrice angrily scribbled her signature and put down the pen before passing the document. I signed the agreement and gave it to my assistant. There you go. You're quite satisfied. You're not a good loser, Miss Livingston. I'm sure you would act the same way if you were in my place. Before you go, there is one more thing. What is it? There's a couple of good options here. But this one sounds funnier. I raised my middle finger in the Queen's face. That's for my son. Well, I never. Nice. Alright, we got an achievement for that. Hopefully for winning the war, not for flipping her off, but that would be a good achievement too. Anyway, with a haughty sniff, she turned around and left the wagon. Jeez. That was more entertaining than I thought. I will say, I was definitely kind of concerned about that war, but that went much smoother than I had anticipated. So yeah, alright, let's keep going. Let's head to Holsword here. For an election speech, apparently. My term was almost over. I paced back and forth behind the stage, gathering my strength. This was the last major event before the election. A massive crowd awaited me. It was the biggest gathering of people we had managed to assemble during my campaign. If my advisors were right, it was also the largest ever assembled in Soul Square. Bordered by Holsword State University, Holsword Arch Sanctuary, the Library of Sordland, and the historic City Hall, the square could accommodate nearly 1 million people. and tonight it was packed. The noise of the crowd rose up around me on all sides. Would I ever address so many people again? Carl's approach interrupted my thoughts. He saluted. Yeah, we secured the entire area, and we're ready for any possibility, sir. I assigned my best men to join the crowd in disguise. Thank you, Carl. Good work. Thank you, sir. I'll be close by just in case. Good luck with your speech, sir. He saluted again and left me alone. Suddenly, the music began. It was Vectern a famous patriotic song by the composer of the Sword anthem. Victory is here. Joseph announced my name and invited me to the stage. It was finally time. Lucian gave me a nod and I stood up. In my dark gray suit and maroon tie, I walked up to the podium as the crowd started applauding. Across the square, I saw a sea of maroon, yellow, and white flags representing Swordland and the USP. I took a good look at my electorate. People of Swordland. Let's go with this one. Today, the future belongs to the people. The future belongs to the victors. To Swordland, I welcome you all. We finally crushed the Snake's Head in Thornburg and ensured that Swordland will no longer be bullied by the Northern Kingdom. Let's see. Let's go with this one. The progress to this victory involved a lot of tough decisions. We knew that we had to confront the threats to our country before it was too late. War is never a good thing. Just like Rumberg, we've lost many good men, but faced with that choice again, I would defend Swordland every time. Applause echoed throughout the square. Today, we must mend our wounds and walk towards a brighter future. I have counted on Lucian Galad's calm and calculated judgment in these difficult days. I am fortunate to have such a great man by my side. Lucian waved at the crowd as they cheered loudly. I am grateful to walk this path in life with the amazing Monica Rain, who has supported me through the last 4 years. Monica walked onto the stage when I said that, and the crowd cheered one more time. My greatest thanks goes out to all of you who came here today. You are the backbone of this campaign. Your noise is shaking the whole country. I had to pause and wait for the giant wave of applause to subside. Let's see. This one sounds poetic. We'll go with that. Since 1954, swordsmen given cliffs to climb and found the tenacity to climb them. Now we can see the valley below. The power you entrusted upon us, my administration fought to serve your interests alone. We wrote history when we celebrated our changes to the outdated Constitution in 1929. We managed to fix the recession and put it behind us. Now we can safely begin building our country back up again. As promised 4 years ago, I made law enforcement the focus of my administration. Our country is safer and more secure for it. We improved rural treatment substantially by hiring health staff and upgrading equipment. Every one of my decisions was made to serve all sorts of citizens, regardless of their ethnic background, religion, or personal wealth. I worked hard to expand the rights of our minorities. I formed a commission for Bluish rights and gave amnesty to all Bluids prosecuted for their ethnicity. Let's go with that. By establishing the Free Trade Commission, we ensured healthy competition so that our citizens could buy higher quality products for less. The crowd was cheering President Rain. I took a look at my supporters. They were now yelling 4 more years. Now it is our task to build a more hopeful Swordland, a Swordland that is confident in its ability to reach for the heavens. That is why I need your help. Let's build a bold, prosperous, and forward-looking Swordland, a united Swordland. The audience broke out into applause again. After all these years, we've come too far to abandon the dream we fought for. We must keep moving to the future we imagined in 1953. Together, we've been building our dream of Swordland, the great Swordish dream, and today, in this square, that dream is renewed. Let's go forward. Let's see. Let's go with the morning will come. Whatever. A magna vescore. Thunderous applause erupted. Everyone responded, Vectern sista. Let's just raise our fist. I raised my fist in the air before I left the podium. That was it. The elections were approaching once again, just like in the beginning. Okay, what's going on here? Oh, cool. On election day, millions went out to cast their votes under the watchful eye of the tens of thousands of young swords militias and other law enforcement units. The turnout was low, but your expectations were high. For the second time, your moment of truth had arrived. November 3rd, 1957. The United Swordland Party came out as the winner again, securing your second term as president. This time, however, you won a coalition with the NFP. You're about to form a government together. The party owed its success to you. With no clear leadership, the National Front Party failed at entering the assembly, while the People's Freedom and Justice Party became the second largest by the number of seats. The die had been recast. In historic success, the People's Front Coalition got both the Workers' Party of Booty and the Communist Party of Swordland into the assembly as its third biggest political force. He declared that morning has come. January 1958. Because the Constitution was easier to mend now, most of the opposition came forth with demands to pursue further constitutional reforms ahead of your inauguration. Many citizens were also starting to sympathize with them. In response, you censor them from the press. You censored them from the press and blocked every platform that could make their voices heard. You made sure your second inauguration would go smoothly. Your second term was about to begin. January 18, 1958. You stood on the podium overlooking the famous Hill of Pride once again. It was a particularly cold day. When you looked at the thousands of people with hopeful eyes, your shoulders grew heavy and you shivered. You held Monica's hand. You dreamed about the future. You saw a Swordland of self-reliant greatness. The country saw massive social and economic reforms over your term. The state became stronger and provided the highest quality services to its people with strides made towards autarky. Swordland was finally embracing its true self. As the state became richer, the people earned comfort. You made Swordland even stronger than it was before. You worked hard to establish a stronger state. With a sense of duty to your nation, you worked hard, sacrificing all of your time, your sleep, even your soul. Thanks to your efforts, Swordland became stronger and a better place to live for its citizens, and you. You heard them cheer your name. You smiled. You knew you deserved to be praised more than anyone for this success. Let's go with the proper response for Dictator. You needed more power to do even better. Monica was gaining traction in the capital as one of the fiercest women's rights activists, rallying thousands of Swordish women to fight for change. Your support buoyed Monica to new heights. With her activism in your administration, Swordish women made strides towards true parity. Diana became a strong and successful young woman. Franck was a family man already. You were proud of them. Years passed. No more obstacles to the Swordish dream were left. Now the morning had truly come. The morning brought a united and happy Swordland, an independent and formidable Swordland. You knew it was possible. The real morning was still on the horizon. Hey, we've got a cool achievement. Morgna Herr Korin. A fierce gust of wind shook you out of your daydream. Monica squeezed your hand. Years had not passed. You were still on the podium waiting to be sworn in. Chief Justice Gresser stood next to you and said, "Please repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will respectfully execute the office of the President of Swordland. I do solemnly swear." Fantastic. All right. Well, let's see what we've got in our summary here. All right. Assumed office 1954. The vice presidents being Pater and Lucian. Personal details. Don't think we need any of that. All right. History will remember you as a neo-soulist. So we're... Interesting. Definitely further left than I had expected, really. Huh. Alright, well, let's look at the other source politicians. Alright. I guess Tarkeen Soul is left too, which is interesting. Alright. Yeah, I was definitely expecting us to be more on this end of things. That's kind of cool. Alright, let's get our stats over here. Between 1954 and 1958, 1.1 million civilians have died in the war. 81% fewer maternal deaths were recorded. 1,278 people were arrested for their ties to organized crime. 18,320 people were arrested for their suspected ties to Red Youth. 73,632 soldiers died during the Rumberg invasion. More than 15,899 people with British descent were released from prison. 328 people disappeared without a trace. 11,340 domestic violence cases were reported. 9,340 small businesses declared bankruptcy, and private assets worth 5 billion yen were seized by the states. Fantastic. Alright, well that was pretty fun. I definitely enjoyed that playthrough. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do next just yet, but whatever happens, as always, thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you all next time.